Hi, how are you today? Hope you're having a good day. I certainly am. I am Andy, and it's really good to meet you. So thanks for looking in today. Right, beautiful day in Wales, UK. I'm going to go for a spin down to the shops because I've just sold my old iPhone. I had to get another one. It's just kind of so out of date that things kept going wrong and I kept losing work and crazy stuff. Anyway, in this video, a bit later on, we will do a 5-card reading because that's what we like to do on the channel here. But as the title suggests, we're going to talk some about Merlin today, and we'll get on down the road in a minute. But first, you know, I've been looking up things about Merlin for quite a long time now. I've always been fascinated by the guy. If you're new to the channel, let me explain. I live in the land of Merlin. He actually lived around here, most notably about 14 miles away from here, actually. But this landscape was certainly very well known to him. But it's really hard to pin down any absolute facts, yeah, because he was... he lived his life in, well, in about the 12th century, I suppose, but most of the folklore about him is kind of 11th century, 12th century, and because that's medieval times, very close to the Dark Ages, not a lot is known in terms of, like, concrete information. And somebody asked me in the comments on one of the recent Merlin videos, I think it was one that came out last week, you know, who was the lady in Merlin's life? And I found several answers. The Lady of the Lake, of course, was very significant to him. And in Welsh culture, and this is Wales, United Kingdom, in Welsh culture, that translates as Arglwyddes a lake. And Arglwyddes is like the feminine of Lord, so it's the Lady of the Lake, not just kind of a woman who we're respectively calling a lady, like a cat lady or something. And as you know, I'm a cat gentleman. She was actually, you know, a female lord. That's the whole idea. She's very exalted, and you only really see that in the Welsh translation. But she seems to have actually ended his life in some of the stories. So I don't know, maybe they were close at one point, but she obviously got a bit fed up with him towards the end. Morgan Le Fay, very close to him, certainly. And again, it depends on which account you look at, whether they were lovers or rival sorcerers. Very difficult to pin down. But his wife is almost certain to have been a lady called Gwendolen. And that may have actually been a mistake that someone made when writing it down for Gwendolen, which is more of a Welsh way of saying that. But in any case, in the Welsh language, Gwen comes from Gwyn, and it means white, the colour white, which is often associated with holiness, kind of pureness and holiness. Oh dear, the phone's gone weird. That's nice, isn't it? I get a new phone and it goes weird straight away. So she's, on the one hand, she's white, and Dolen, the other part of that name, means a loop, which is, you know, kind of... It's more mystical than it sounds, to be honest. I mean, a loop is a loop, but it's like an encircling power. And circle work, circle magic had a great deal to do with the original culture of the whole of Britain, actually, but very certainly, very specially here in Wales. There are some old churchyards, very old churchyards, which are round. And there is a video in my playlist on ancient sites and rituals, actually. I must put a link to it in the description or up there on a card or something so you can see it. And a lot of churchyards where churches are actually built were built on old Celtic Llandd, which was the pagan centre of any kind of village or settlement back in the day, before the Christians came along and decided that, you know, much better if we forget all the, you know, rich culture of the past and just kind of read the Bible and do as we're told by priests. Oh, don't get me... Well, you're not getting me started on that. I'm trying to stop myself getting started on that, if I'm honest, because I could rant about that for hours. But, yeah, the most ancient churchyards are actually round, and I think there's only one left in this area, which is still a circular churchyard. It's a very unique kind of a thing. So that, having a loop in the name, made Gwendolen very sacred. You know, a white loop. There are two things very closely associated with sacredness. Even that word clan, meaning the old pagan settlement, which has since come to mean Christian church, but you know, it really means the old pagan settlement. Clan, it comes from the word glan in Welsh, which means clean, and it's like cleanliness is next to godliness, you know. So Gwendolen was obviously a very, very good woman, a very good character, someone who no doubt walked in the light and did great things for people. And she seems to have been Merlin's wife, but what kind of relationship it was, it's very hard to say, because Merlin, his full name in Wales anyway, was Merlin Wyllt, or Merlin Wyllt. And Wyllt means wild. It's W-Y-L-L-T, and it means wild. And he was pretty much a wild man of the woods. So I don't know, did Gwendolen manage to tame him? Very difficult to know. But there we go, Gwendolen. Morgan Le Fay, who I think, you know, we know of from the TV series and the 1998 film, which I linked to in a recent video. Certainly very powerful and certainly very close to his life, whatever was going on there. And there's also a lady called Sybil, like Sybil Fawlty, you know, or Sabil, and she was, I hope she was a bit nicer than Sybil Fawlty, maybe not, you never know in the 11th century, and she was close to Merlin as well, but that name Sybil might actually be another name for Morgan Le Fay. It's 11th century stuff. Anyway, let's hit the road and we'll talk some more about that. So I haven't shown you the garden for about 2 weeks now, because really we just had really extremely bad weather and nothing's grown or changed really, except some of my brassicas got trampled by some big animal in the night. I've no idea what it was, but it knocked over a really heavy container of this fertiliser-y bone meal stuff that I put on the soil, and it's not that easy even for me to lift, so it must have been a cow or something that escaped and ran through the garden. But it'll be growing again now. There was a real nice day on the weekend actually, but I had stuff to do, I just wasn't able to be here. But yeah, more garden footage soon, I'm sure, because that's another part of the great magic. And actually, one of the reasons that Merlin would have been kind of drawn here or brought here by fate or whatever is that it is an incredibly fertile area. It's not the best place for growing vegetables actually, but for keeping livestock it's wonderful because it produces extremely nutritious grass. And because of that, this used to be like the milk capital of UK as recently as the 1960s actually. And then we had all kinds of mad laws came in and the farmers ended up not getting paid much for their milk. And we started importing it, I think, as well, which is absolutely insane, because we could literally grow the milk here. We have this wonderful grass for the cows to eat. And anyway, from the late 60s onwards, sadly, Cardiganshire, this part of Wales, actually lost a lot of its milk tray, and Carmarthenshire as well. You know, the two counties are next to each other. So that was kind of crazy, and I think we need some Merlin magic to actually really bring the magic that is here in this part of Wales to the attention of the world again, because it's sorely lacking. But there's the thing, I mean, don't we just know it, folks? You know, the magic isn't lacking, never has been, never will be. But the understanding of magic in this world seems to be, you know, rising up again now, but nothing like as quickly as I would like it to. For example, you've seen my channel's grown in recent times, and big thanks to everyone who's helped it grow actually, and got past the monetization goalpost recently. And as yet I'm not intending to put any ads on the channel. Actually, I've got this feeling that ads are just inherently evil, so I don't want to put them there. But it was nice to pass that milestone, you know. But it's taken me since 2007 to pass that milestone, because I'm concerned, you know, genuinely with magic, with psychicness, with mediumship, and those things are interesting to a lot of people, but not that many people want to subscribe and watch video after video after video. And so I'll say it again, I'm very, very grateful to all you guys who watch and thumb them up and subscribe and comment and stuff. It really is the stuff of life, and it helps me draw attention to magic, to things that really matter about magic, and that's going to take the whole human race forward eventually. It's just the human race doesn't want to know about it yet, because we're still very much obsessed with money. And I think that obsession with money is actually changing a bit with time. Clearly more and more people are understanding that it's not really doing them any good. It's even filtering through to some of the billionaires, but they are hopelessly addicted to money, and they're not going to kind of give it up no matter how much they believe in the magic. But hey, isn't that just life, you know? And the great thing is, those of us who do follow these things have something very precious, very tangible, you know? Magic is real. I dare say many of you have actually tried to manifest something and see it happening pretty much as if by magic, and it actually is magic. First couple of times it happened to me, I found it very hard. Ooh, stalled the car. So excited by this subject, I stalled the car. Right, here we go again. Yeah, first couple of times it happened to me, I just could not believe it, you know. Things just suddenly changed for the better when I least expected it. And really can't think of any other explanation for some of the things that have happened, other than the fact that something magical was going on. I've experienced great protection from things that I thought were going to go wrong. Just, you know, great things keep happening when you believe in magic, when you keep trying to manifest. So back to the idea of Merlin. I'm not at all surprised that there was a character like that, you know. It's just, I wish I could be more specific about the things that happened in his life. It's just so difficult, because we're essentially going back to 1150 and some written work which seems people believe came from a man called Geoffrey of Monmouth. And he tended not to write fiction, you know. He wrote the stories of all the early kings of Britain, and it's like it's history, you know. Some of it can be proved in place names far away in other parts of Britain. So he was a factual writer, and that gives a lot of credibility to the idea of that what has been written about Merlin by him is actually true. And I don't really need that confirmation myself, you know. I know it's true because I live the magic every day, and so do many of you guys actually. And if you're new to this whole idea of psychic goings on and magic and everything, just stay on the horse, my friends. That's all I can say. Keep on going, because you're going to learn more and more. It's not the easiest of paths to tread, because a lot of it is, it's not meant to be hidden by anyone, but it just is. It's hidden by the nature of the world, by the fact that a lot of people think they'll be accused of being mad if they talk about it. And I've often been accused of being mad. Some of you are probably listening to me now and thinking I'm mad, but believe me, folks, it's real. It really is. But anything, you know, that we're getting the information from the 11th century about is shrouded in mystery. And I've experienced this on another level. I'm a musician, very keen musician. I have been all my life, and because of that I've tended to be fascinated by very old forms of musical instrument. I love the pipe organ. I'm a pipe organ player, and the design of the pipe organ that you see in churches and concert halls and cathedrals actually goes right the way back to ancient Greece, and before that it goes back to 5000 BC. There was something similar to a pipe organ that seems to have been invented in 5000 BC, if not earlier, basically, in China. It's called the Chang. It was a thing you held in your hand and blew like an ocarina, but with pipes. So that fascination made me interested in pictures that I've seen in ancient churches and ancient manuscripts. You see it sometimes, and it's like a box, and it's got some tuning pegs on the back, so you know it's a stringed instrument, and it's got a handle. And it seems to have been a forerunner to what people call a hurdy-gurdy nowadays. You know, you turn a handle and play the keys. And no one knows what's inside the boxes, because the boxes are always shown closed. So all we've really got is our best guess as to what was in the boxes. And it's like there's a wheel in the box, we think, that acts like a bow when you turn the handle, and it bows the strings, and the keys nip the strings to get different notes out. And I set about making one. So I'm really fascinated to find out how this works. And this early kind that I was making is called a medieval symphony. And if I ever get it to sound really good, I might demonstrate it to you, actually. But that really made me aware of how difficult it is to pin down anything that was kind of written about or created in the 11th century, because it's just coming out of the Dark Ages. It's the early medieval times, you know, and just very little is known about it, and for that reason very little is known about Merlin. But as I hope I've managed to put across in recent videos, and I'm going to keep trying to put across in future videos, I know, and many of you know, that Merlin is real and that the magic is real, just because you've experienced that magic in your lives, as I have. And there's just nothing crazy about the idea that Merlin was a great magician. Really nothing crazy about that at all. And as I say, you know, Geoffrey of Monmouth didn't just write kind of fictional books. So he was writing about someone real, and he was writing about real things that happened. So who was Merlin's twin flame, eh? Seems to have been Gwendolen. You know, that's the woman he seems to have spent most of his time with. Or at least most of the time he spent with women, he spent with Gwendolen anyway. And there are ladies in this village who have that name Gwendolen, spelt the Welsh way, Gwendolen. So it's still very much alive in the culture as it is now. Was that a flash of lightning? I saw something flash. Crazy. Look at those dark clouds gathering in the sky. It's never sunny for long in this part of the world. See the daffodils by the side of the road there? That's the national flower of Wales, the daffodil. And people think about leeks, but that's a vegetable. And it kind of grows the same way as daffodils grow at the same kind of times as well. The daffodil is the official flower of Wales, a Blodyn Cymraeg. Okay. So here we are back in Babylon. Just going to get down to the post office now, and we'll get the iPhone 6 on its way to its new owner, and some more money in PayPal. Yes, that's what we need. Well, there's the parcel posted. Let's head back to the ranch and do some cards, eh? It's gone all grim and dark now. Just had a massive hailstorm as well. The Welsh weather. It's kind of unpredictable unless you predict that it's going to be wet all the time, in which case it's very predictable. And here we are, filming outside again, which is nice actually. Not the warmest weather in the world, but it's definitely getting there, you know. It's feeling nice, feeling like things are coming to life again. I'm already joined by a cat, but she's kind of running around there off camera. Maybe she'll climb a tree and then you'll see. So let's start off with a significator card, actually. I really like significatory cards. Not every reader does them. Some people just like to rely on exactly what comes out of the deck and leaving it to happenstance. But to be honest, I don't think there's any difference between that and using a significator in terms of how effective and how accurate the thing is going to be. And it just deepens things, it just adds something. So I'm going to use this deck. I haven't used this for a little while now. Doreen Virtue's Ascended Masters deck. A real nice Hay House deck from quite a few years ago. But it's pretty good. I've just turned over the top one and here we are. Now this is so important with Merlin magic, any kind of magic really. Retreat into nature, because everything to do with anything magical at all is part of our natural world, and that's something that gets forgotten all too often, I think. And magic works for everyone, you know. You don't actually have to be out in a beautiful green space like this. I'm incredibly lucky to be able to be here. But at the same time, as I've said before, wherever you are in the world, even if it's a real kind of big, busy town with traffic going around everywhere and you kind of can't see the sky for the buildings and there's light pollution and you can't see the stars are there up above the light pollution. Actual natural ground is there underneath all the concrete, so just tune into that, you know. It's a bit like, I used to work in a spiritual centre that was next to a busy road, and the lady who ran it always used to say, "Come on, puss, if you're coming." That's not what she said when she didn't have a cat. You coming up? No, well, maybe she'll come up later, we'll see. But yeah, she always used to say, listen to the silence behind the noise. And very wise, actually, very wise, because that real truth of magic, of silence, or whether it's the ground or nature, whatever it is actually there behind the noise. So guys, you don't really have to go anywhere to do this, to retreat into nature. But that's what we're being told today. And this is the Green Man. And the Green Man is a very powerful figure of British magic in particular, I suppose. But, you know, it's kind of like a local tradition with us. I'm sure he's for real wherever you are in the world, a lot like Merlin is. And a great deal of the Merlin tradition relates very closely to what the Green Man is all about. It really does. Okay, so we are into Tarot of the Sephiroth. I'm having a bit of a shuffle here. This is another one I haven't used for a while, but hey, variety is the spice of life, is it not, friends? So let's just cut the deck and see what we get. Okay, so the first one out is number 20. Come here, guys. Number 21, and it is the universe. Let me bring that up. No, it's not. Oh, the two came out at once. Okay, right, well, there you go. It is card number 1 in that case. I'll do the second one as card number 2, because it was number 2 that came out. So it's actually the strength card here. Right, and this is what it really takes to get that nature connection, to get that magic flowing, really. And since we're talking about, you know, the relationships in Merlin's life, that's another area of life that takes a great deal of strength. And it sort of pays back. It's a mutual thing. You know, if you really kind of strong about your relationships, which can actually mean allowing yourself to be a bit on the weak side about them at times as well, because it's give and take with another human being, then that is going to strengthen your relationship, you know. And when you get two energies coming together, particularly if it's a twin flame situation, then you're going to get much more out of that than just the sum of the two people putting the efforts into it. So there's a lot of strength in relationships, for sure there is. And this lady has her hand on the lion's head, and the lion is not biting. And there we think of, I mean, this, you see, is how you could have a character like Merlin, Wild Merlin in the Welsh tradition, actually being with Gwendolen as a wife. Great strength, but here's Gwendolen, if you will, and she's got her hand on the lion's head, which makes me think of Merlin Wicht, or Merlin Wild, and the lion isn't going to bite, you know, and there's a lot of magic in the human touch. This is really how hands-on healing works, of course, and I see all that magic kind of coming down in like rays of light through the lion's head here. And so, guys, in terms of what this actually means to you, like here and now and today, if you're in a situation, particularly a situation that you might be a bit worried about, like something where you're invoking the violet flame or kind of praying for healing to come into a particularly impossible situation, bear in mind that it actually works, because this is it's not number 7, which I said before, it's number 8. Dear me, I'm not seeing too well today, obviously. Maybe there's something wrong with these glasses. I don't think there is. I think there's something wrong with me, actually. But yeah, number 8, as above, so below. And that number 8 and that idea of eternity really means that the strength that matters, the strength that you really need to call in whatever situation it is that you're asking and praying for help with at the moment, is going to come much more strongly, because it seems like something that can't work out in this world, you know. That's what really draws in the angelic energy. That's what really, excuse me, draws in the healing. The more you need the healing, the more strongly the healing comes. So, number 8, strength there. There is a cat up in a tree at the moment. Let me just see if I can flip the camera and show you. I don't know if you can see her up there. She is definitely running about. Oh yeah, there she is. I can see her wagging her tail a bit. You know, very intrepid cats mine are, and that is Tinkerbell up there. Marcy can do it too, but right now it's Tinkerbell. So here we are again, and now I will bring out the card that I thought was coming out as card number 1. It's actually card number 2 now. So what we've got here is number 21. Got it right this time. It's the universe, and something of a magic number, 21. All numbers are magic one way or another, to be quite honest, but it's 3 sevens, you know. It's kind of 3 times 7, so a very powerful number there. And that again reminding us, you know, that numbers being powerful. And, you know, we see numbers around us all the time. People often message me and tell me, you know, I'm seeing this combination of numbers all the time. And I have that experience myself quite often. And it's a way of the universe kind of communicating with us and telling us stuff that we actually need to know. Really, really something to celebrate. But here is the universe, and here is that magical tree of life pattern that I mentioned in the last video when I was talking about Glastonbury. Not the last video, but the last video when I talked about Glastonbury, that last video. Okay, I'll bring it up close so you can see. It's just that tree of life pattern there, you know, and the idea is you can either go up one pillar or the other pillar. The pillars on either side. One is Bina and one is Chokma, masculine and feminine. Or you can go up the middle, which is like the spiritual axis. That's the way of getting it done. And that's really the way to get totally engaged with the energy of the universe. And that, you see, is what Merlin did. And that is what's so magical. Not just about Merlin, but about everyone who kind of acts in the truth, in the reality of Merlin. And magic is a reality, friends. It really is. Don't know if you can hear the woodpecker in the background there, but I certainly can. Great fun. We've also got triangles here, you know, and a triangle pointing down as much as anything. But that really shows how close that triangle is to the human form. You see, it just kind of fits around this winged angel character who represents the universe here. So sacred geometry, sacred numbers, all very, very powerful. And again, it's seeing something that not everyone's going to see, because our everyday eyes kind of tune these things out. And to really get in touch with the power of the universe, we've got to kind of untune them out, or tune them back in again, I suppose would be a better way of putting it. And we actually can do that, you know. We can make a difference in our own lives that way, and that allows us to make a difference in other people's lives then when we do this. And all around in the dark sky, around the edges of this picture, are actually stars there glimmering in the sky. And that brings me back to what I said a minute ago about the fact that, you know, light pollution is a real big thing. I had no idea how much light pollution affected us all until I actually got to this beautiful country place and it got dark and I could actually see the stars, because there's no street lighting or anything like that in this area. And I never really knew how much I was missing this stuff, because, like, if you don't know it's there, you don't know you're missing it, do you, really? But think of that, guys. Maybe Google stuff. Look at pictures of the night sky that people have taken in clear areas like this. I'm afraid I haven't got a camera that's really strong enough to capture the magic of it, but lots of people have, and there are lots of pictures of it on Google. So look at that, and, you know, you can kind of tune into that idea and just know that behind the light pollution, the universe is there doing its thing, actually shining its light in all those tiny little points of light from the stars. And the magic of that, even more than anything, is that it's like time travel, you know, because as you look up and see the stars in the sky, you're seeing light that left that star a very long time ago. How long ago depends on how far the star is away. But for example, I think if you look at the surface of the sun, there's something like an 8-hour time difference. And, you know, that's only really as far as America, isn't it? So I don't know exactly how that works or how that can be. But they say if you look at the sun about 5 p.m, you're seeing light that left the sun around about 9 a.m. the same day. Okay, so that's the universe. It's magical. It's there for you. That's what I'm really trying to get across in this video. It is there for you. Just like all the work that Merlin did has left us with a kind of magic that we can still tune into in this very day and age. So many, maybe even thousands of years afterwards. I've been talking about the 11th century, but that's when the tale was written, you know. How far back was Geoffrey of Monmouth actually looking when he wrote that tale? Really, really hard to tell, because styles of writing and ways of writing and ideas about writing things change so much over time. Okay, card number 3, it's the Chariot. It is actually number 7. I knew number 7 was going to come into this somewhere. Major Arcana again. So far, 3 cards out of the Major Arcana. This is a very intense kind of energy that we're dealing with here. And it's the Chariot. And this is something that Merlin was all about. See, he never forgot, because he was only half human. He was, his father was an incubus. So he was half human and half a god, and that's how he can keep on going. That's how, I mean, he reincarnated. He was definitely present in Saint Germain, the Ascended Master, the Count of Saint Germain in France, and Saint Germain reincarnated several times, actually. But Merlin, although he can reincarnate, he doesn't have to, you know, because the knowledge that he carried with him isn't going to die, because it's only the human side of him, the human body, that dies. The human soul goes on and on forever, and is actually never far from us, and that's how he can be around. And of course, once somebody passes over to the other side of life, which is really what the afterlife is, it's the other side of this life. When someone passes over, the soul becomes unrestricted by the body. That's the main thing. And this is why I very often say to people when I'm doing mediumship readings, and sometimes when I'm talking in the live videos, that comes into it, you know. The loved ones you miss are actually closer to you than you think. It's just that, you know, the everyday eyes don't see them. The everyday things of the laws of physics don't work in the same way. And going from where most of us start off, which is just, you know, we've been brought up to believe in science and maybe churches and things like that, and we're taught to believe that all these things are far away and probably not real. We get into that mindset where we start to understand that these things are real, and this amazing journey starts, and this is the spiritual journey of the Chariot. This really is absolutely what it's all about. And that number 7, you know, it's getting towards completion. It's not quite the 8 of eternity, because when you get to the 8 of eternity, it's not that you've completed the journey, but you've completed the paradigm shift. You've come to understand that things are different to what everyone taught you, and maybe what you yourself actually thought things were all about. So number 7, the Chariot. There's a great big eagle on here as well, and that's another analogy worth thinking about, because really you spread your wings when you become aware of spiritual things, when you start keying into the energy, not just of Merlin, but of all the ascended masters, all the otherworldly characters that have lived this human life one way or another, and have their energies around the earth. And Morgan Le Fay was one of them, you know. She was a great sorceress, the Lady of the Lake as well, you know, they all are. Okay, so that's card number 3. What have we for card number 4? It is the 9 of Swords. Right, we've finally come away from the major arcana, but who could take all that intensity all the time, eh? It's still a pretty intense card when we get the 9 of Swords. The Swords is the suit of mental effort, having to put mental effort into things. We think of it as the suit of decisions, and of course it is, you know, and in terms of the magical journey, we do actually have to make a decision that we're going to follow it. Even Merlin had to sort of grow up and become more aware of that, because he was half human, and that half human part of him tried to pull him back all the time. Much more difficult for those of us who are human to actually have that paradigm shift. And this is a great thing, friends, because if you find yourself, as you're doing now, watching a video about a spiritual topic, reading spiritual books, adopting spiritual practices, then you really have come very far with that journey, and you've put a lot of mental effort in to actually cut the cords with everyday life. That's a big part of what the 9 of Swords is saying to us here. It's also, you know, there's a bit further to go. There always is. And as card number 4 in the reading, well, there's bound to be, because this is kind of maybe the immediate future, but generally speaking, not the long-term future. It's setting the scene for the future, and it's what the future is all about. But we aren't actually in the future just yet. The future starts right now, actually, because this is the future compared to a few seconds ago when I said that. And so think about the nature of the future. We've also got Mars energy here, thinking of the planet Mars. And Mars is associated with hostility. It isn't always actually a hostile situation, it really isn't. And we've also got Gemini down there, the astrological symbol for Gemini. So this is the nature of Mars, you know. It is a two-sided thing. There is the hostility, there is the kind of warlike aspect of Mars, I suppose. But at the same time, astrologers always say that if you're having kind of trouble because of Mars in your birth chart, or Mars, just, you know, the awkward, the strong, the almost violent energy of Mars, then you need to channel that energy into some kind of positivity, some kind of constructive project needs to be done, and that will channel the energy, and that will make great things happen. So even though the 9 of Swords is really talking about a very difficult situation, and it's so close to a number 10, that actually it's obviously bringing change. So as soon as you get used to that difficult situation and you can handle it, things are going to change again. Even though it's showing that, you know, think of that, think of channeling all that into something positive, which is what is really happening, actually, all the time. And you'll actually see that what feels negative in this world is always driving us towards something positive. I'm doing readings all the time. If you'd like one, by the way, there's a link down in the description there to my email. Do get in touch, and I'll read for you in like Zoom, Messenger, email, whatever. Lots of different ways of doing readings. And when I do readings for people, they've very often either just gone through, or they are going through something very, very difficult. And it's always transformative for them. And that's always what comes out of the reading in the end, is what's the way forward? How do we solve whatever the mystery is? How do we get a solution to a problem, you know, and move forward with that? That's different for everyone. I can't really put into one video and one reading of one card for everyone exactly what that means, because it is different for every individual person. But that's the way it goes. And do be aware, friends, that that energy is there for every individual person. So if it's getting difficult along the way, if you're finding that kind of friends and relatives are like rejecting what you're all about, and maybe you lose people — I lost quite a few people when I committed myself to magic — be aware that you will find, as I did, you will find like new new people, new friends who do understand, and then you'll be in tune. Then things are going to function a whole lot better. So it's the 9, it's nearly at the 10 of completion. You just got to keep fighting that battle and go a bit further. And then what happens is the outcome card. And in this case, friends, it's the 8 of discs, which in this deck is the 8 of pentacles, really. So closely associated with abundance. And abundance is a wonderful thing. It's a word I absolutely love. And it's one of the words that psychic type, magic type people most get criticized for. Abundance. How does abundance come? It's just luck, people will say. Well, there's a good deal of luck involved in it for sure. But there are things you can do to change your own luck. There always are. And as an outcome card, this is fantastic because it shows that the abundance is there, right? And what you've got to do is keep the abundance flowing. And that's why, once we've discovered all these things, we keep going. You know, I don't think I've ever met someone who was into magic or who was into psychic stuff, mediumship, anything like that, who worked out what it was all about and then just gave up on it. I'm just not aware of that happening. What happens very often, actually, is that you know, spiritual growth goes in bursts, and you'll have a kind of a burst of development, and then it'll seem that nothing's happening. And this happens a lot when people are developing to be spiritualist mediums, actually. When I teach mediums, I very often hear from people, maybe a few months later, and they say, you know, it was all magic. I could see the breath of life in absolutely everything, and the magic was happening, and now it's gone quiet. Now there's nothing happening. What's that all about? And you know, nothing is lost when you get into that situation. It's just that the intensity of magic, the intensity of spiritual energy is so powerful that if we lived with it absolutely every day of our lives, we'd have a heart attack. Merlin could do it because he was only half human. This is the important thing to get about Merlin. He was half human. He could do things that we can't, but he points the way to all of us to things that we actually can do. And when we realise that, when we realise that these things are going to be like pulsing, sometimes they're going to go fast, sometimes they're going to go slow, sometimes it's going to feel like it's come to a complete stop. Well, really, that's okay, because we're human beings and somehow we have to handle this. You know, it is absolutely amazing, divine, superhuman energy and knowledge that is being given to us whenever we're developing spiritually. And it has to trickle in, you know, no human mind can take it all in one go. And I keenly remember, actually, about 12 years ago, when I'd been developing as a medium for a while, things were very, very magical. And then just nothing happened. No one was asking me for a reading. No one was kind of talking about it. I was working in a crystal shop, and around about 2012, actually that's 9 years ago, isn't it? Around about 2012, the crystal shop just went bust and shut, you know, went bankrupt, and couldn't keep going on. And I thought, well, what was all that about? You know, but magic absolutely always comes in bursts. And so the 8 of discs here, the 8 of pentacles, is a reminder that that abundance is absolutely real, and it will return as long as we stay on the path, as long as we keep on remembering it and actually thinking and contemplating what it's all about. I don't think we'll ever know what it's all about, really, or at least not in this incarnation, not during this lifetime. But that's one of the great things of the afterlife. That's one of the great things also of magic and earth magic. We are only here for a limited time. Even Merlin was half human and doesn't appear to be physically alive in the world at this time, unless, as Danny Shea says, I am Merlin, which got to laugh a bit about that. But I'm only half laughing because maybe part of me is, because maybe part of you is, you know. I'm not claiming this just for myself. Every person, every human being has that otherworldly side, and it's so good to tap into it, to work with it, to contemplate it, to think about it, because just contemplating it and just thinking about it makes all the difference, you know. It becomes an affirmation. It becomes real, and great things keep on happening. So on that note, friends, there we go. There is today's 5-card reading. If you picked a card, I hope your card came good. If you picked all 5, I hope the reading worked for you. It's been lovely sitting out here in the sun, actually doing this. I feel very blessed to be out among the trees. You can probably see my clothes line in the background. I've got some washing in the machine, and I'm going to come out and hang on that in a moment. And that will obscure all the magical view behind me, but only for a few hours, because I've got human stuff to do. I need clean clothes. Goodness me, don't we all? And the stuff of life gets in the way sometimes, but never forget the magic is real, okay? Merlin is absolutely real. And it was total magic that he was able to actually have that twin flame of Gwendolen, that he was actually able to have those relationships with the Lady of the Lake, with Morgan Le Fay, because he was something of a god, you know, and it was only by having that human side of himself that he was able to have those experiences. And that, although that seems like a great dumbing down of things in so many ways, that is really magic at its highest, because that is passing on the magic, that is passing on the truth to absolutely all of us. So thanks very much for watching, friends. If you would like to buy me a coffee or buy the channel a coffee, do visit my coffee page, link down below, coffee.com/twig, and you can have a look at what's going on in my garden there. There's usually a few pictures up, and more garden, as I say, in the next video. Just at the moment it's all been blown over and trampled and kind of starved of water, so we'll get that fixed, we'll get it blooming, and we'll get it in a video for you. Meanwhile, you know, live videos coming up all the time. I'm sticking with the Sunday 9 p.m. readings because they're working so well. Live readings, you know, so hit the subscribe button and you'll get a notification when that happens. I'm certainly sticking with 2 live streams a week, but I'm thinking I might move the Wednesday one, just the way things have been going lately, and just because I'd like to catch people at different times. You know, different people are around at different times, and I'm very keenly aware that at the moment I'm only getting people who are around between 9 p.m. UK time and sort of 10:30, 11 p.m. UK time, which is, it's just not everyone, is it? So I want to try and spread my wings a bit. But look out for those live streams. As I say, hit the subscribe button and you'll always know what is going on with Twig Brother. Meanwhile, my friends, take good care of yourselves. Please leave me a comment. Let me know what you think of this video. It always helps me to kind of know who I'm doing these videos for and what it means to you guys. It's wonderful to have that contact with you. So leave me a comment. We will share the journey, as, dear viewer, we are doing right now. Thumbs up if you've enjoyed this one, please. And I'll see you again in a future video. Love, light, blessings, and peace.